I mean, I don't care if you can't say it. I just don't understand why Jersey City doesn't play in the EFL anymore. Welcome back to the False Nine channel. I appreciate everybody coming back to the channel and spending a little bit of the time out of your day with us. Today we are doing exactly what the description says, and we are predicting the League of Ireland. The standings 1 through 10. We're going to see who gets the Wooden Spoon Award, and we're going to see who wins the league. And if you are an American follower and you're maybe not familiar with what this league is, just think of it as Ireland's Premier League. Or if you're a little older, what I like to refer to it as, or what I knew it as, is the Atrocity League. Whatever you know it as, it's Ireland's top flight of football. And I know what you're thinking. Why is an American doing this? You shouldn't be here. Well, guess what? I'm going to come. And we're going to do these rankings one by one. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. Finishing dead last in 10th place, I've got Drogheda United. And if you're from Ireland, I apologize. I tried really hard to say that. But there's honestly, they gave up the most goals last year. They were abysmal last year, if not for Dundalk's situation, who were just top to bottom a complete mess. I hope to see them back up at some point, but that's another story. But yeah, they were just terrible all around. I mean, I don't even have anything to say of note for them for this upcoming year. I think it's going to be a long year for the club, and to me, you can survive with a weak offense. Goals will eventually somehow find their way into the net, but you can't survive with no offense, no midfield, and no defense, and honestly, no keeper. They have, in my opinion, they have a weak bench. They have a weak starting lineup. They're just weak all around. And I guess the only thing to say about this team is they have a defender. I mean, they do have some. Their defenders look very strong. Don't get me wrong, but they have a defender who the only thing of note that I can say is they have a guy that for the longest time I thought his last name was Booger. So there's that. Now that 10th is out of the way, there's a mess of about 3 clubs that I think could fight for that 9th, 8th, and 7th spot. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to give the nice spot to Cork City. But I do hear if you're walking around downtown Cork, you could fancy yourself to run into a coupon for 10% off the home match. I don't know how true that is, but I did see that going around social media. So, yeah. But they brought in some old names, some familiar names from the past. They've brought in some loanees from the English Football League and the guy from Carlisle. I can't think of his name right now. But this feels like one of those things where that they are making some moves, but they're making moves just to make moves. I don't think they're a strong club. They are what I proclaim them as the yo-yo squad of Ireland, at least as of late. They just go up a league, down a league, up a league, down a league. There's no consistency, and until they do show some consistency, I've got to pick them at the bottom of the table, just not dead last. But for now, I've got them in 9th, and I do think Cork is a lovely town, though. In 8th place, I've got Sligo Rovers. There's just nothing about this club that necessarily overly impresses me. I think they are a little more talented than the bottom 2 squads, but not by much. I do think that they have a cool story, though. I don't know who their goalkeeper is going to be, but I do like that Richard Brush is still there and going strong, especially after he had that I believe he had a stroke in 2018 or something like that. He's on his 4th stint with Sligo at this point. He is an absolute trooper, and if I had to guess, I would say he's the oldest player in the league. I don't know that for sure. Someone could fact check me on that. But they've also got a young guy who is eligible to play for the U.S. Just want to throw that out there. If you're an American looking for a team, Sligo might be for you. But yeah, they're weak all around, especially compared to the upper echelon of squads here. But I think they're going to have trouble, but I don't think they're going to be in relegation trouble. It's going to be a long year, though, for Rover fans. We're all the way already in seventh, and I've got Galway United, the Tribesmen. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if you're an American looking for a team, well, they have two registered Americans on the team, and one of them is 6'6", and he is a striker by the name of Patrick Hickley. And they also have a midfielder, more so on the defensive side, Vincent Borden. But I think Hickley is just kind of a specimen to watch out on the pitch, especially with his height. I do think they're a little more sound defensively than the other squads I've listed, and they've got a decent midfield, especially with the captain, Greg Cunningham, who started off his career at Man United, which may not mean as much as it used to, but I'm not talking about making a couple of appearances for Man United this year. I'm talking about making a couple of appearances in the early 2010s when it actually meant a little bit more than it does now. But he's going to be anchoring down the back line, captaining the team. I do think they're going to be a little more sound defensively than the squads below them. I think they have the potential to creep up the table a little bit more, but I don't see them getting into the top five. So for now, I've got them finishing here, mid lower table, but the potential is there. And nearly every year, you're going to get a squad that you don't necessarily think is going to do as good as what they are, or at least on paper, they don't necessarily look as impressive as where they finish on the table. And I think this year that team is going to finish in sixth place, and that's Waterford. I like the flashiness of McCormick and the brute strength of Amond and the veteran leadership of Boyle, and they've got some big guys like Radkowski on the back line, and just I don't know. I think it's a good mix. They've got a little bit of a mix of veterans and young guys, pretty much all throughout the squad. I think if I don't know, I just think they're going to be a thorn in people's sides this year, and I think they have a good thing going, and I don't think they're going to go into that top five or anything like that. But on paper, I can see why people would have them finishing eighth or ninth. But for that reason, I've got them finishing sixth. We'll see what happens at the end of the year and how crazy I look for this pick because this has potential to bust, but we'll see. The first club I've got finishing in the top half of the table is Bohemians. And during my time, they were such a good squad. And it's so weird to see them finishing mid table or even lower. They still got Rooney and Tierney, and I believe they still have the young left back, Best. At least I think they do. And I can barely pronounce the English name, so I'm not even going to pronounce the Polish goalkeeper's name. But he's a decent goalkeeper for this league, and I still think they have probably the best uniform or kits in the league. But and also, what is if anybody's watching this, give me an update on the stadium. What's happening with the stadium? Because the last time I actually saw it live, they were doing a lot of work. That was a few years back. Did the work ever get done? Did they ever get whatever they were looking for with the stadium? Please let me know in the comments below. But mm, they're not enough to me. Bohemians is not enough to drop into that lower tier, but they're not enough to break into the higher tier. They're just kind of a mid-table team. And for an historic club like Bohemians, it just kind of feels like a meh year, which is not fun. So this year, I think there are four clubs who have a legit shot at winning the league. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're all created equal, but I think there are four clubs that would not just blow my mind if they won the league. Unfortunately, the first one out of those four clubs, in my opinion, is Shelburne. And don't get me wrong, I love Kearns between the sticks. I think Boyd's a nice, big, tall striker. But I just, it's not what they don't do. I think it's what the three clubs above them do better. I think they're a solid squad. They're definitely going to at least have a fighting chance at winning this. But I don't have them breaking this top three. And really quickly, I forgot to mention it in that video. I do think St. Patrick's has one of the best young strikers in the entire world. And again, forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong, but it's Malia, I believe is how you say his last name. I do think he's one of the best young strikers in the world, and it would not surprise me if you don't see him playing for a top club very, very soon. Speaking of the Shamrock Rovers, I've got them finishing second this year. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I find a little bit of uncertainty in their goalkeeping situation. I don't think their goalkeepers are as talented as, well, really anybody in the top five that I have on my table. But I do think they still have a strong back line. They have probably the most talented wingers in the league. But I don't know. The goalkeeping situation scares me a little bit. I do think they're going to jump St. Patrick's, as I just said a little bit earlier, because of just the pure amount of additional games that they're going to play. But I do think that I was talking earlier about Waterford possibly being my bust. I'm going to go on a limb here and say Shamrock has the most to lose this year, and they potentially may actually end up doing it. I don't see them finishing below fifth, but I can see them taking a nosedive just because of some of the question marks I have on the field. But for now, I've got them finishing second, which leads me into the league winner. And of course, winning the league, that only leaves one left. I've got Derry City. And I think Derry City already had a decently strong squad, but they made two moves that really surprised me. And of course, we all know one of them. But one of the underrated moves that they made, I think, was for Carl Winchester. He was kind of iffy at Shrewsbury, but before that, I thought he was a super solid midfielder in the English Football League, and I think he's going to come in. I don't, who's to say he's going to play right away, but I do think he's going to come in and add some value to that midfield. And of course, the guy that I think is going to make a statement is Liam Boyce, and he's coming in from the Hearts of Midlothian. Um, it's going to be interesting to see how he gets integrated into the teams. I know the captain is the striker, the current striker. So I don't know if they're going to potentially play two strikers or if he's just going to come in as a super sub. I don't know. But either way, I do like the moves that they've made to an already decently strong squad. Uh, it's going to be hard for me to pick against them. And they are going to be the reason why I watch more League of Ireland games than I normally would. So there we go. If you made it this far into the video, it's either because you hate me and you wanted to see me keep making a fool of myself, especially toward the end of the year when some of these could be very wrong, or you actually agree with a lot of what I said. If you did agree, let me know in the comments what you agree with. If you very strongly disagree, let me know in the comments as well. Who do you have winning the league this year? Everybody be safe. Please drop me a like and have a good week and weekend.